Let's preview tonight's Spurs Grizzlies game, then have a game of buy and sell.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. I am a Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. Glad you all are here, too, because the lunar eclipse was yesterday. Apparently, the world was supposed to end, but it didn't. But hope you had a fun lunar eclipse day. And, Spurs season is winding down. They got the Grizzlies tonight, so we'll be discussing that. And then we're going to our guest, Mike Jimenez. We're going to be doing a game of buy and sell, putting to focus Devonte Graham and a couple of other topics. Then we'll be talking about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans. What are y'all talking about over at the YouTube page? Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. It'll help you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, well, your Spurs take on the Memphis Grizzlies tonight out in Memphis. Is going to preview tonight's game. And as always, we look at the opposition. What are the Grizzlies up to? And let's begin. So the Spurs enter tonight's game 19-59. The Grizzlies are 27-51. Spurs are coming off a loss against the Sixers, 133-126 in double overtime. What a thrilling game. Wemby had 33 points, 18 rebounds. Champagnie had 17 points. Zach Collins had 9 points. Devonte Graham had 9 points. And Malachi Branham scored 22. Y'all know the Spurs are pretty much hit with the injury bug. No Sohan, no Osman, no Vassell for that game. Keldon Johnson left the game with a left foot injury in the second half, but he did score 7 points. For those that are on the uniform watch, the Spurs will be in their Black Icon Edition jerseys. All right, so what is the injury report for tonight? Well, Osman is still out. The usual suspects are out. Vassell, Sohan. Barlow is out as well, and Keldon Johnson will be out for the game. So the Spurs are very depleted tonight versus Memphis. All right, speaking of Memphis, let's look at their side of the court. They've been out rebounding the opposition of late. Their record may not reflect it, but they're a pretty good rebounding team. They have out rebounded the opposition in 5 straight games. So Spurs got to watch the glass tonight. But you need to keep an eye on that scoreboard because the Grizzlies at home, they're 1-21 when they're trailing at halftime. They usually don't win games if they're losing at the half. Spurs got to get up on that scoreboard at the half. And speaking of streaks here, the Spurs, not only they're in a bit of a skid right now, but they're also on a bigger skid versus the Grizzlies. They have lost 13 straight games. Yeah, Memphis has beaten the Spurs 13 straight games, and that's not good. Hopefully the Spurs can snap that tonight. All right, let's look at the Spurs side of things. Now, Spurs are not getting it done defensively, specifically with steals. They've recorded fewer steals versus their opposition in 5 straight games, so they got to get that. They got to get those easy second chance points. Defense wins games. Hopefully the Spurs can up that. It's part of the defensive attack versus Memphis. And hopefully they keep the turnovers low. I mean, that's pretty much what doomed the Spurs in that Sixers game. Those 3 straight turnovers to close out the second double overtime. But as far as steals are concerned, yeah, Spurs got to do a better job right now on that. So I talked about the scoreboard for Memphis at halftime, right? We know they're well below 500 at their home. But swings both ways. Finally, the Spurs are 2-28 on the road when they're trailing at halftime. Something's got to give tonight. These two teams really cannot come out of a deficit at half. So we'll see which team can do that and add a W on that column, that win column side of things tonight versus the Grizzlies. Yeah, Spurs-Memphis tonight. So there you have it, a quick Spurs-Memphis preview. All right, coming up next is Mike Jimenez. We're going to be discussing pretty much have a game of buy and sell. We're going to talk about Devonte Graham and a couple other topics, then to see what y'all are talking about over at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. I just want to talk to you about LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for small businesses, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role that you need to be filled. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools necessary to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn is not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn is not just another job board, as mentioned. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make that process easier. They even launched a new feature that helps you write job descriptions and making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. You should too. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Michael Jimenez. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. He is with the Alamo City Sports Network. You can find that on YouTube, and he is MJ Acquired Taste show on that network. Jimenez, thank you all. Thank you for jumping on here. And there's a lot of things that are happening right now with the Spurs as the season winds down. Roster shape up. Wemby, how's he going to perform in the postseason awards segment? But let's start off with the roster. Let's do a game of buy and sell with you, okay? So,
sure,
buy, sell. That as the Spurs look at the roster and the current one, like which players are going to stay, which players may not stay, buy, sell that Devonte Graham has made a legit case that maybe the Spurs should keep him around instead of maybe using him as trade bait.
Man, I forgot he was even on the team. I mean, he was stapled.
Well, he's been playing pretty good.
Long.
Well, he's been playing pretty good with the minutes. Yeah.
What I'm saying is the months of November, December, January, and February, where have you been? And this is part of the frustration of it all with Spurs fans. And he asked the question, buy or sell, to keep Devonte Graham. Well, if the Spurs want to win games, then the answer is yes. I don't think that the Spurs organization wanted to win games this year. That's why they stapled him to the bench.
Yeah.
And Devonte Graham obviously is a legit NBA player. He's not a star player, but he gets the job done. And, it's interesting seeing how easy it is for him to get the ball to Wemby. Where everyone else seemed to have an issue getting a 7'4" superstar the ball. Devonte Graham has no issues when it comes to that. He's a veteran player, and he's somebody who is one of the better players on this team. He was just, for one reason or another, not allowed to play.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was baffling that the Spurs did not put him out there to start the season. Not saying a starter, but at least give him some minutes. Right. Because he's instant offense. This guy can cook offensively. You look at what he did against the game at New Orleans in the win. 24 minutes, 20 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and went 4 for 12 from the 3 line. This guy's a bucket getter. And I'm with you. It was a head scratcher. Like, if you struggled on offense, as we saw this whole season, why not bring him out? Why not throw him out there? Why not give Wemby a dynamic scorer, a guy who can create his own shot on the perimeter, can penetrate, can create some spacing for Wemby? And it makes sense. And you look at how, first of all, credit to him. I mean, professionalism, didn't make waves, was very vocal on the bench. I saw him, talking with guys, trying to direct them, everything. Really good guy. But I think he's a guy that the Spurs should keep around, because if offense is a premium in today's NBA, Devonte has it.
Oh, most definitely. He has a high motor, a pretty decent basketball IQ. I like what he brings to the team, and it just baffles my mind that he wasn't out there. We had the experiment earlier in the season with Jeremy Sohan at point guard, which was an absolute failure. And then you go beyond that, Trey Jones, which has done a pretty decent job offensively, but he lacks it defensively. And Devonte Graham was just sitting there the entire time, and I like the way that you phrased it. It was very professional for him to be there. I question whether or not the experiences of a Devonte Graham or a Thad Young before him, or name the veteran of the past few years who's come to the Spurs to see essentially their career die.
Yeah.
Because Pop is doing the youth movement, for right or wrong or whatever the case may be. And so we're so enamored with the idea of, we need to get veterans around for Wemby, and veterans will want to come here. Man, the one thing that scares me is seeing a Devonte Graham a campaign who was immediately cut, a Thad Young who didn't sniff the court even though he was one of the better players on the team at that time. That scares me a little bit. But I like Devonte Graham's game. He's a bit of a spark plug, and when he's feeling it, and I like that.
Yeah, yeah, and look, with the Spurs, notoriously known for pinching pennies, he's not expensive, for NBA standards. Trying to look up here his salary situation here. Yeah, 12.1 million this season base salary. So he comes in there. Look, the Spurs can afford it too. If he wants a little bump in pay. We know what their situation is heading into this upcoming offseason with the amount of financial cap flexibility they have. But yeah, I mean, I like what I'm seeing out of Devonte. Not bad he was a second round pick, number 34 overall. And he's proven that he belongs. He is on the books for next season, 12.6 million. So he's there. But yeah, I mean, again, I fear that the Spurs will see that his salary situation, and if they want to make a move, he has 12.6 final contract year to dangle out there to an NBA team. If the Spurs are looking to flip, I'm like, hey, here's a veteran point guard. He has an expiring contract. Let's do something. Look, if they move him, Jimenez, I would understand.
Right.
But he could be somebody they want to just keep around, even if it's for a partial next season, and then maybe use him at the trade deadline next year. There's something there. I like that chemistry with him and Wemby.
I do too. If there's no big free agent to be had, because as you mentioned, it's an expiring deal, that's what makes it palatable for teams who may not even want him on the roster. But if you're trying to get a Trae Young and you need to match salaries, well, that's the way that you do it. You do it with a Keldon, you do it with a Devonte Graham.
Yeah.
But I just find it just so funny how for months it's been how difficult it is to get Wemby the ball, but Devonte had no issue, hasn't been on the court much this season, and had no issues with it at all. And I think part of that is it shows the experience that one has at a position. And I know that a lot of people are believing that we are in the age of positionless basketball, and to some extent, the superstars can do that. I mean, Wemby can do it. You can have LeBron and Jokic and all these players play multiple positions. Giannis play multiple positions. But for a lot of the role players, they really need to stick to what they know and stay in their lane. And his lane is bringing the ball up the court, combo guard type of play, shooting the rock, not afraid to light it up from three, but at the same time, have the handles and the basketball IQ to get the ball where the star wants to get it. It's not just getting the ball to Wemby. It's getting the ball to Wemby where Wemby wants it, where Wemby wants to catch it, where Wemby is in a certain place. We saw that with Tim Duncan back in the day. Tim wanted the ball at a certain spot on the court, at a certain hand, in a certain way, and you had to get him the ball that way. And Tony was so great at that. And we need to know exactly where Wemby wants to get it.
Yeah, and Devonte seems to pick that up pretty fast. All right, our next buy and sell question is, and this might be an obvious one, buy or sell that Wemby will land on an all-NBA team, first, second, or third. I think they still do third all-NBA teams.
They do.
Okay. Where are you standing on that? Statistically, he has to, right?
Okay, where I'm at, picture a horse race right now where he's the horse coming down the stretch, charging for that spot. As of right now, a lot of Spurs fans are going to be upset with this. I don't think he's going to make it.
Oh,
okay.
Well, first or second or third, or just any of them?
Any of them. Okay. But now ask me the question, do I believe he deserves it? I believe he does. 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, leading the league in blocks, is a walking triple-double possibility every single night. He will eventually have a quadruple-double. He came close to it. What was he? He was an assist and 2 blocks shy or something like that?
No, a block and 2 assists away, yeah.
There you go. Close. Yeah, it was close. And probably if that game had gone into overtime, it would have happened. But the fact of the matter is that you take a look at Wemby, he belongs in there because of what he brings, not only offensively, but defensively. Last year, Domantas Sabonis was third-team All-NBA center, okay? And if you take a look at his stats, Wemby's stats are comparable to his, but Wemby brings it defensively and is going to be a first-team All-NBA defensive selection.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
because of that, I believe he belongs at least in the third team. It's just I don't see voters doing it right now because the
Yeah.
Spurs have a bad record,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of voters out there who are kind of stuck in their ways when it comes to what they believe. But man, Wemby is doing. The sad thing about it is this. I think that a lot of basketball writers and all the pundits and whatnot are going to look back at this season 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now and ask themselves the question, what were we thinking not including him in an All-NBA team? What were we thinking not naming him Defensive Player of the Year? Rudy Gobert is on the number one defensive team in the NBA. You pull him out, and they're still the number one defensive team in the NBA. Why do we give him the award when he doesn't have the responsibilities that Wemby has? Wemby's having a very dynamic year, historic year, and I don't think it's going to be put into that historical perspective until later on down the line when we see his career unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll I think he'll land in the All NBA third team. Why? Because I think the Spurs record is gonna really hit him hard, as far as the votes to get on there. Because All NBA, in my opinion, I think that's a guy who's on a team that's successful and brings a lot to the success of this team this season. Now, the Spurs successfully have not had a good season. They did a good job of not having a good season record-wise, but Wemby individually has been doing phenomenal. But I think ultimately for those kind of all NBA teams, I think the voters will look at what pretty much the player and the team, their record, and were they good, bad, playoff bound. I'm probably gonna see multiple guys from Boston go, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Tatum. You're gonna see, Denver with their guys probably make some. Rudy Gobert, Minnesota. There's just so many players that I'm not saying they're better than Wemby, but they're on a team that are just better record-wise. So I think that's ultimately going to hurt him. But I'm with you at that. I think he will make an All-NBA defensive team first. I mean, he's got to be on that first one. Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. So I think that's where he'll stand. But hopefully, it'll be a nice silver lining to end Wemby's rookie season for him individually and something to build upon next season. All right, when we get back, we're going to discuss you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans. What are y'all talking about over at the YouTube page? That and more up next with Michael Jimenez. I want to talk to you about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now. Look, sometimes you can get tickets and it's a frustrating process, right? You don't want to go through that hassle, do you? I know you don't. You want to go to Game Time right now. Look, there's an MLB game you want to go to. Game Time has that. Look, Game Time is now the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes even tickets getting, just gets easier and faster for you. Prices on the Game Time app may actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. There's so much there. It's so user-friendly. It's easy to use. They don't hide any fees from you. That's why you got to go to gametime.co right now. So speaking of those last-minute ticket deals, they got flash deals. They got zone deals. You get those views from your seat. You get event cancellation protection, job loss protection, the lowest price guarantee. They got it all. And look, last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Zone deals, save even more when you choose the section and let Game Time choose the seats. All-in pricing, well, you pretty much toggle the feature and it shows you the total price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And again, that lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA to get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez. Follow him on X at MJ Acquire Taste. Do that right now. Jimenez, The Locked On Spurs fans are talking a lot at the YouTube page. There's so many comments. I wish Jimenez and I had hours and hours to get them all, but we can't. So we're going to pick two. So Jimenez, we're going to get two guys, in this case, to see what they're talking about over the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. And surprise, surprise, it's all about Wemby Jimenez. Let's start off with the first one. This one's from Jive. By the way, he has his avatar pic is a picture of the Boston Celtics logo, but he's commenting on Locked On Spurs. So we'll see what this Celtics fan has to say. He says, quote, once the Spurs were eliminated from the playoffs, they should have sat Wemby. Why not? It keeps him away from getting a serious injury that could affect his entire career, and it would give them a higher draft pick. Thank you, Jive. Well, actually, it's Jive 33. Jive 33, thank you for that. I'm assuming, Jive, you are a Boston fan based on your avatar pick. But what do you stand on that? Should the Spurs sit Wemby already, or should have sat him earlier, when the season was all but done? Where were you with that?
Well, just this past week, he got his 65th game. And if he wants to be an all-NBA team member, all defensive, this, that, or the other, or defensive player of the year, I believe you need to at least have 65 games played. So he crossed that this past week. I wouldn't mind if they shut him down, because we don't want to see an ACL type of injury, or MCL. I'm going to go knock on some wood or something right now for even bringing that up and putting that into the universe. But the fact of the matter is that the Spurs don't really have much to play for right now. With Vassell out for the year, Jeremy Sohan out for the year, I don't see what he benefits from playing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
With who's left on the team. And a lot of Spurs fans right now are like, well, Mamu's doing well with him. Devonte Graham's doing well with him. And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of throws me off a little bit. I understand the idea, because he's also going to be playing ball this summer. So because of that, I would like for him to get some rest. I mean, think about it. He was playing in the French playoffs, deep into the summer. Then he went into the summer league and all of that stuff, the whirlwind of coming over and the whole Britney Spears incident and all that stuff. And then he hasn't had time to kind of recharge. And I would like for him to kind of just, rest his body a little bit. These games are meaningless between now and the rest of the end of the year. Spurs trying to avoid having the worst record in their 51-year franchise history. I mean, I guess that's something there. But the Spurs are battling Charlotte for that third worst record, and it just seems like they don't want it. It seems like the Spurs are destined to win a couple more games and be in that number 4 or 5 spot when it's all said and done. I understand what Jive was saying, but my goodness, just shut him down. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm with it too. I'm leaning towards just shut him down. He got already 2 injury scares. There was one game recently where he fell on his hip and he got up and he was grimacing. Then there was the recent game, I believe it was the most recent in New Orleans, where he rolled an ankle.
Yep.
And he popped up out of that and he was fine. I mean, when they showed the replay and how twisted his ankle got, I said, okay, what more do you need, Spurs? Just sit him down. You don't want to risk injury to this guy. And you're right. The load that he's going to have to carry this offseason, he's going to finish the Spurs season in just a few days, then has to travel to France, then team France camp, the practice camp. Then remember, for Olympic play, you have friendlies, exhibition games. So you got to go through that. Then you have a tournament to get ahead of the Olympic tournament. So it's so much, and then not to mention the side things you have to do, appearances and do this and do that. And you're in France, and he's going to be a wanted guy. And then how deep they go into the Olympic tournament. And then you got to turn around and then go back to San Antonio for Spurs camp. So yeah, it's a lot. And I'm with you, Jimenez. I think the Spurs should sit him down ASAP. All right, our next comment is a long one, Jimenez. Here we go. Campfire Sung. I hope I got that right. He left a novel, Jimenez. Like, this thing's like, so we're just going to get the first couple sentences. He says, and this is a response to Defensive Player of the Year. He says, Rudy Gobert plays with 4 other players that are also in the top 15 in defensive rating. When Rudy is off the court, Wolves are ranked number 1 in defense. Spurs without Wemby is last in the league in defense. Spurs with Wemby are 4th in the league. Wemby has more blocks than the last 3 DPOYs combined, and then Wemby averages 1.2 more blocks than Rudy Gobert and has played 300 minutes less. Thank you, Campfire, for that comment. Yeah, I'm bracing for it, but I'm still going to be a little perturbed, peeved when the NBA announces that Rudy Gobert got the DPOY, not Wemby. Wemby statistically is cleaning up defensive categories, putting up defensive numbers. It's a shame, Jimenez. All signs are pointing to Gobert getting it.
It reminds me of the voters who rely on old school statistics in baseball, batting average, home runs, and RBI, and they stick to that, and the Triple Crown means something.
Yeah.
When really slugging percentage, OPS, and all that stuff are the real metrics to be used. And the same thing goes in the NBA. People talk about points per game, and I'm like, well, what's the per 36? What is the effective field goal shooting percentage? That's what I go on, and it just depends on whether or not these voters are actually going with the analytics, or they're just going to go with basically the tried and true method is that these awards are designed for players on good teams. In the NFL, the MVP is typically the quarterback of the team with the best record, or pretty close to it. I don't think Wemby's going to get it. I've seen 3 ballots so far this week. Voters who have revealed their ballots. All 3 of them had Wemby on defensive first team, but all 3 of them had Gobert winning. And it's one of those things where the Spurs team not doing so well for the season. And I think also we have to understand that Wemby has become a different player since the turn of the calendar. Since January 1 to now, he is an all-star caliber player. Since January 1 to now, he's probably the defensive player of the year, much like he became rookie of the year from January on. I think that November and December start kind of derailed him a bit. The minutes restriction and all that early on in the season kind of derailed him a bit. So I wouldn't fault the voters for voting for Rudy Gobert. It just sucks because, Wemby is having a historic season, and now I know what a stork is, or a stock rather. Steal and block combined. I never knew what that was beforehand. So I'm hopeful that he's going to get first team All-NBA defensive team. But the odds of him winning the overall prize is pretty low at this point.
Yeah, I'm already conceding that it's going to be Rudy's name on that award, not Wemby's. But look, this is just his rookie season. It's just his rookie season. He's going to be cleaning up hardware very, very soon. So hang on for that. But
let me ask you one question. How many Defensive Player of the Years did Tim Duncan win?
0.
That's why I can never say that, he's destined to win one in the future, because Tim Duncan, one of the greatest defenders of all time, you look at his trophy case, he's got MVPs, he's got final MVPs, he's got all these accolades, but the one he doesn't have is Defensive Player of the Year.
And the one thing that Zach Collins told me years ago, and it still resonates today, I remember talking to Zach, and then mind you, he was already a Blazer. He's a Blazer at this point. And he told me, Jeff, it's criminal that Tim Duncan never got Defensive Player of the Year. So,
yeah, and it reminds me of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Hall & Oates was inducted years ago, a handful of years ago. And people ask the question, man, you guys were eligible like decades ago. Why were you not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And their answer was, everyone thought we already were.
Wow. Yeah.
and that's the thing about Duncan is, how did he not ever get Defensive Player of the Year? I think everyone assumed that he already had one.
Yeah, right. He is Michael Jimenez. Make sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste, part of the Alamo City Podcast Network. So go check him out. Tell us what's going on with Alamo City, dude.
Well, first of all, we want to thank everyone who showed up at the Mike Taylor barbecue cook-off that benefited the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. We were proud to take part in that and to donate funds for that as well. So it was a great event, and it was outstanding. Mike Taylor did a fantastic job. But our podcast network is expanding. We go Monday through Friday. We're live from 10:15 to 11:30. We're back on Facebook. We're back on Twitter. But you can also follow us on YouTube and subscribe there. Our subscription numbers have skyrocketed over the past couple of weeks or so. We'll probably hit 1,000 sometime this summer, if not sooner. But no, it's going good, and we're getting good remarks and reviews and all that stuff. And now we're getting a lot more people coming on board. We're going to have athletes, and we have from the Missions, from the UTSA Roadrunners, wrestling, and all of that stuff going on. The show is expanding what we do, and we're having fun doing it.
Absolutely. He is Mike Jimenez again. Follow him on X at MJ Acquire Taste. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black. And subscribe to us on YouTube, Kens 5 Plus, iTunes, Spotify. Pick a platform. We are there. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel only on YouTube. Go check it out. We're all there. National, regional, local hosts. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming sports channel. So for Mike Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.